Mr. President, every week I've been coming down to the floor of the United States Senate to talk about a special Alaskan, someone in my state who through their hard work and community service, whether they're to their neighbors or to their country, makes Alaska a better place for all of us. And we call these people the Alaskan of the Week. And learning about these individuals and sharing their stories, not only for my Senate colleagues, but for Alaskans, really for Americans who watch what we do here, or in the galley, is probably one of the best parts of my week every week. Now, Mr. President, like most of my colleagues, we'll soon be going home for the 4th of July, and we'll celebrate this very special holidays with our families in our communities. Some of us will be going to barbecues or marching parades, to other community gatherings. Some of us will gather at spots across our state and watch fireworks. Personally, I'll be with my family catching king salmon at my family's ancestral fish camp up on the Yukon River, one of my favorite places in the entire world. But regardless of where we are, all of us will certainly feel a swell of pride for our country. We'll remember the hard-fought battles that brought us independence, and we'll remember those who have served and sacrificed to keep our country the land of the free and the home of the brave. They are the heroes among us, and Alaska is chock full of these heroes among us. So today I want to recognize one of them, a very special hero, is our Alaskan of the Week, Sullivan Atkinson, who has spent nearly his entire adult life serving our country with honor and dignity, and now serves his community in Alaska tirelessly. Let me tell you a bit about Saul and his illustrious career in the military. Saul was born in 1930 to Harris and Elizabeth Atkinson in Metlakatla, Alaska. Metlakatla is on Annette Island in the Inside Passage, where so many Americans take cruises to see the glaciers and the whales. It's home to the only federally recognized Indian reservation in our state. Now, Saul could have continued to live in Metlakatla, where he was a commercial fisherman as a young man, but like so many patriotic Alaskans, he chose to leave his home and join the military. In Saul's case, to join the U.S. Navy, and for 22 years, from 1951 to 1973, he had, by anybody's standards, a remarkable, patriotic military career. In 1953, Saul volunteered for the Navy's legendary underwater demolition team and was deployed to the Pacific, including Korea. Now, some of you history buffs watching, some of you history buffs here on the Senate floor will know and recall that the underwater demolition team, the UDT, was a precursor to the present-day Navy SEALs, the frogmen, as they like to call themselves. In fact, Saul was on the very first Navy SEAL team created by President Kennedy in 1962. And Mr. President, I have a copy of the SEAL Team 1 Plank Holder Certificate commissioned on January 1, 1962, with Saul's name proudly displayed, and I ask unanimous consent to submit that for the record.
Without objection.
So Saul became a Navy SEAL, the first Navy SEALs, literally the first. He became a SEAL team training instructor, training new Navy SEAL recruits. He was affectionately referred to as the Mean Machine by the Navy SEALs. He also had the honor of training 48 astronauts, including Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Jim Lovell, just to name a few, in underwater weightlessness simulations. His prized possession is a framed plaque bearing the signature of all those astronauts, all those American heroes whom he trained. Saul completed 3 combat tours in Vietnam. By the time he retired from the military, he had earned numerous awards and medals for personal valor, including the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart. But, Mr. President, what's truly remarkable about Saul is that after he retired from the Navy, he moved back home to Metlakatla and continued to serve his country and serve his community. He served on the Indian Community Council, on the school board, and as mayor of Metlakatla. He has also been very involved in veterans affairs and was the president of the first veterans organization on the island and was instrumental in starting that organization. He has spent years reaching out to his fellow veterans to make sure they have received the benefits and honor and dignity that they earned. Jeff Moran, who's the superintendent of the Bureau of Indian Affairs in Metlakatla, said this about Saul: "I could go on and on regarding the wonderful things that he has done for his community. We would not be here today without his leadership and knowledge and commitment." Mr. President, I too could go on about Saul. Many Alaskans can go on about Saul, all the things he has done. But I also want to mention, particularly on the eve of the 4th of July, that he is part of a long tradition in my state of Alaskans who have served in the military, of Alaskan natives who have served our country. Even during darker times in our history, when many Alaskan natives were discriminated against and denied basic rights. On the eve of the 4th of July, we celebrate America's independence, but also, in particular, those who have fought for that independence over the last 100, 200 years. And as I mentioned, one proud element of my great state is we have more veterans per capita than any state in the country. And Alaska Native veterans serve at higher rates in the U.S. military than any other ethnic group in the country. Something I like to refer to as a special kind of patriotism, because they've been doing this for decades, like Saul, even at times, again, as I mentioned, where our country hasn't always treated that group of patriotic Americans with the respect and dignity that they deserve. So, Mr. President, Saul personifies this special patriotism. The SEALs who served with him wrote this about him in a tribute, quote, "Saul's story will continue to be told by the many trained, by the officers who relied on him, by the frogmen who all respect him. A gentleman, an athlete, a friend. Saul Atkinson is all of these. But of all of these traits, he is first a frogman." You can see the pride in the Navy SEALs that they have for Saul, a plank holder of the entire organization. So I'll add to that in conclusion. He's a patriotic Alaskan through and through, and I want to thank him for all he's done for Alaska, for our veterans, and for America. So Saul, congratulations on being our Alaskan of the Week. Happy 4th of July to you and to Alaska and to all the men and women in our military and the citizens of our great nation. I yield the floor.